What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to talk about getting game from a dog. We got a lot of great stuff coming up, so stick around. Alright guys, so we want to get game from a hound, okay? So this can be tricky at times, and this at some point in time during the dog's career, we're going to have to be able to do this. Now, a lot of dogs will act a lot of different ways, and some dogs are super easy and other dogs are super difficult to go ahead and get the game from them. And this can be kind of a sketchy moment. This can kind of be a leery kind of thing, and a lot of guys kind of avoid it just because we don't know how that dog is going to react. And I think, number one, we need to be teaching this stuff at the house in our training sessions. Okay, so when we have our dead coons and we're training with the dead ones, this is a good time to go ahead and figure some of this stuff out. Now, what will happen is the dog will want to kind of behave the way that we've trained it, right? So at the house, when we're in the training sessions and we're letting the dog play the tug of war and things like that, that is very good. That is what we want, but we also need to learn, teach the dog to drop it, okay? So when we're in these early puppy stages, this is when we're going to teach this, is with our playing the tug of war stuff. We can say drop it, or that's enough, or dead coon, or however that we're going to call our dog off of the dead game, right? So when we have these commands on the dog, it's so much easier to go ahead and do that. Sometimes it's a lot easier to just forget about this portion of it, and we're just kind of learned our dog a little bit, and just, we can get it from the dog without kind of having to tell it to. But when we get into the woods and we get into these situations to where, if you're like me, when I knock things down to a dog, I always let the dog get a piece of it. And that's just me, I feel like they've done a lot of work. They deserve to have a piece of the action. I don't do the fighting thing, so I like to knock them out dead or twitching and get them over there really quick so they can go ahead and, secure their bag and have a good prize. And, feel good about themselves, stuff like that. I know there's a couple guys out there that are, saying, don't let them get a piece of it. This is a good tip. If we got a dog that's been running a while and they start acting kind of, nonchalant about it, hold it back on them. Don't let them get a hold of that thing for a couple trees and see how they start acting. But when we're talking about these younger dogs or these fresh dogs, these dogs that are just starting up and start going, it's very important to let them have a piece, because if they don't get a piece, then they don't get a reward, and it's very easy for them to just shut off and say, I'm not getting anything out of that, I'm not doing it, right? So we need to know when to actually let the dog have some of the game and when not to, right? There's benefits to both, but I'm going to focus on getting it from the dog, okay? So some dogs, they'll grab it up and they'll just bolt with it, okay? These are the dogs that tend to be the most difficult. Okay, so they're really difficult. If they'll grab it up and they'll just take off running with it, they'll get up and they'll go. You're not getting this from me. I'm not going to stay around you. You're going to take this. I'm gone. Or they'll sit there and they'll run off a little bit and they'll just chew it and chew it and chew it. There's all these different things that these dogs do when they do get a piece of it. Shaking, right? They'll shake it, right? So when they are shaking, these are the ones that are the kind of the sketchiest to kind of get it away from. What I like to do is, I have a dog that I've got something down to, and I've not really did a whole lot of work on it with, drop it or dead coons or leave it or have those commands kind of in place on it. The best thing to kind of do is just wait a minute and wait for that dog to settle down somewhere. The dog will settle down somewhere, whether it be 15 yards over here, it's ran off a little bit and settled down and started just really chewing on that thing. It's shaking it, wait for it to settle down, and when it gets it on the ground and it just starts just chewing on it, right? They do this. When they start chewing on it on the ground, usually 9 times out of 10, they are chewing on its torso, stomach area, right? They're chewing in there. So it's really easy to just go over there and put a foot down on the tail. So number one, we want to put our foot down on the tail first, because if the dog is going to be aggressive, it's going to try to get our foot, and it's not our hands, right? So put our foot down there, and what I like to do is go all the way up to the butt of the coon and put my foot down and have a chunk of tail hanging out the other side of my foot, and then I reach down there and I grab that part of the tail, and once you got a hold of that part of the tail, you kind of step off and just lift it up. right? And we can kind of just wait a second for the dog to open up and lift it up. Now this is a quick way to kind of sneak it out of the dog, right? That's that's the way that I do it usually. And then once they start kind of going at it, you no, dead, it's dead, it's dead. Or we can put our foot down, grab the coon tail, and start telling it dead, and getting it to release the coon, right? One thing that we do not want to do is hit the dog, or do anything aggressive to the dog while it's actively being so aggressive. This can trigger the dog to be aggressive. We don't want to trigger the dog to be any more aggressive than it's already being. It's not being aggressive to us, but it's being aggressive to the dead game, right? And a lot of times what I will do, especially their first one or the first couple, if they want to carry that thing, I'll let them carry it. The last dog that I had a coon down to for the first time was Cash. When I knocked that thing down to him, it was a big coon. It was heavy. I didn't have a bag with me. I was deep in the woods, 500-600 yards, and I was like, I can't even barely carry this thing because it is just so much carrying this whopper and this dog on a leash. I dropped it on the ground. Cash picked it up. He packed it out of the woods 600 yards. So you want to pack it out, you want to do the work, go right ahead, buddy. But we need to be able to grab a hold of the coon and get it away from the dog. And if this kind of goes hand in hand with my getting your dog caught video, right? We need to have those same kind of behaviors. We don't need to be hollering at the dog. We can kind of just be real quiet, get over there, and like I said, step on the tail of the coon, reach down, grab the outside tail of the coon, and pull it up. And then it's kind of like a double safety, a double protection that you got, because if we put our leg between the dog and our hand, if we go down to reach and grab the coon tail, if the dog were to hit us or were to go after us, it's got our leg there. It's not going to get a hold of our hand. And some dogs are excessively aggressive when it comes to dead game. They are excessively aggressive when it comes to these things. But it's really easy to cause them to have that reaction, as if our reaction is always aggressive. Get off it. I said drop it. Shock them off the thing. Whatever. There's a lot of things that guys do that aren't necessarily the right thing to do at the right time. And it can cause, like I always say, there's things that can cause ripples in dogs. We do this one thing while we're getting a coon from a dog, it's forever mean, right? It's forever now protective. It's forever now gonna try to eat us up while we're getting something from it. I think this will be the prime time that a lot of guys will go, well, I'm not gonna let him have a piece of it because he's so mean about it. Start in the yard. That's the number one tip, okay? And if Kurt, you're watching, I already know that you'll have this right on the tip of your tongue and right on the comment section going, I start in the yard. Absolutely. All this stuff starts in the yard, you guys. Any bit of the Coonhound training stuff starts in the yard. And this is one big thing here. Second-handed dogs, this is going to be a real hurdle to jump that first time, because we don't necessarily know this dog that much. We don't know whether or not they've been getting a piece of it. We don't know how they've been acting. But like I've said on the channel before, 9 times out of 10, if we mind our P's and Q's, we mind our manners, and we do the things that we're supposed to do, and pay attention and safeguard ourselves, we're not going to have issues. And approaching a dog is another thing too. Okay, and the reason why I say let them grab it and go ahead and settle in on it, because once they settle in on it, they're not very likely to pick that thing up and run again. Some of them may, right? Some of them might run on you 2 or 3 times. This gets aggravating, but the best process to do is just kind of let them settle in and get up on them, nice and easy. And like I said, put that foot on there, reach down there, grab the tail, you've got it. If they're wanting to lunge at you and try to get the coon while you got it in the air, this is when you want to start like knocking them down off you. Hey, no, this is dead. Get it up in the air, get it on your back, get it off away from them, and put it in the bag. Putting it in the bag. Okay, so this is one thing that I go over in my getting recut video. I'll leave a link to that video down in the description. But carry a backpack, and we can put our coons inside the backpack, or a duffel bag, put the coons inside the duffel bag, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. The dog can't get it. It's not going to be bothering us. It's not seeing it. We're not packing it. We're not having to play tug of war with the dog the entire time we're trying to get the dog off of the coon, right? So this is going to be my video, just a short little couple tips for you guys on getting the dead game from a dog. But I have quite a big list of shout outs, and shout out to you guys. You guys come through. You guys have been going off the charts on the comments. You guys have been going off the charts on the, likes and the subscribes. I've been doing very, very well, and I'm very appreciative. I've got a lot of people coming out that were here in the beginning and they kind of went silent. Now they're back out again, so like awesome stuff. I really want to get the channel growed, so share me around, get out there and let your friends know who I am, and get the channel, get some subscribers. I do have a tidbit of information for you guys before I go ahead and do the shout outs. I started a new Facebook group, okay, so you guys can go over there and check that out. I'll put a picture of it right here. It is Coon Hunting, Hound Training, Tips and Advice, or Advice and Tips. It's right here. You guys can find that on Facebook. It's a public group. Get in there and share your guys' stuff. All right, that is going to be awesome. I think this is a good start to go ahead and start growing this kind of side of the Coonhound world. Okay, so number one, Jordan Kramer, Cato's Ghost, or Cato the Host. I think that's what it actually is. Dre Wazowskiewicz. I think that's how I'm supposed to say that. I'm really sorry, buddy, if I didn't get that right. Dre, you hit me up on Facebook. You got that Redbone dog and a couple other dogs, I believe. I want to know how it's doing. I'm there for you. You guys can reach me on Facebook at the Millbrook Studios and Entertainment Facebook page. So go on over there and check that out. Hit me up on Messenger. It's a lot easier than doing the email thing. But definitely, you guys are all welcome to go ahead and get over there and check that thing out. I hope your dog can get there and get done. I know there's kind of probably some trepidation there with being a prior antler hunter, right? So Jacob Fryer, you're another one that hit me up on Facebook. I don't necessarily know what kind of dog that was. I believe it was a Feist dog. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. But that is just awesome. Okay, so I'm so happy that you guys are taking what I have to offer, and you guys are going out here and you're applying what you need out of it, and you guys are getting the results, and you guys are getting dogs there. Okay, that is the whole entire point of this channel. That is the whole entire point of you guys tuning in, is for me to just try to help you guys get there. I might not be a legend. I might not be a trainer for 50, 60 years. I might not, even do things the 100% right way. But I tell you what, I will give you my honest, utmost opinion, and I will talk to you about things that I have been through and what has worked for me and what hasn't, and I'll try to just help you guys along. And any bit of information at any stage, everybody can always learn something, and everybody can always have something click in their own mind and go, okay, maybe it's not exactly what he said, but I get it, and I can put it together like this, and it will work for me. Okay, so Jacob Fryer, thank you for coming on there, and thank you for letting me know that I've helped you out, man. That is just great. I really like that. Michael Rhodes, Eon Fiddler, and we'll talk about Eon Fiddler. Eon Fiddler, you were kind of not around for a while and you're back for a while. I really appreciate every single comment that any of you guys ever have to post. Do not ever feel shy to get on here and leave comments. I'm greatly appreciate it. Okay, so T Champion, I talked to you on my personal Facebook. I'm glad, dude. I'm there anytime. Just hit me up, and I'll try to give you whatever advice I can. It's kind of hard. I know you got a new puppy, right? So I think the hardest part about getting a puppy, number one, your pup is super young. Okay, so 5 weeks old is super young. Number one, first and foremost, and I've commented to this on a couple videos in the channel, is that we want to. Number one, we want to safeguard, okay? So safeguard our dog, okay? So puppies need shots, okay? So when we get the shots, then we can kind of start venturing out a little bit. Then we can start introducing them to stuff that could be carrying something that we're not safeguarded against without shots. So I highly recommend, do not be taking your dogs in the woods so much. Do not be fooling with them with dead stuff too much. because they can catch something and they can ultimately just get sick and die if they don't have the proper shots in place to safeguard against that. I would highly recommend, by the time we're 3 months old, we're quite a few rounds into shots, right? So by the time we're 3 months old, we should have quite a few shots put together. The dog's not so bad. I think by the 3 month old mark, we have every shot in place besides a rabies shot. Now, if anybody knows any different, just correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure we have every shot in place besides a rabies shot at the 6 month or at the 3 month old mark. So, with that being said, we have to be cautious. Okay, so I don't want anybody to think and just take what I say and run with it and not make sure that we're doing our own due diligence. That our dog has its shots, our dog is in well health, or it's not going to be something that's going to be detrimental to the dog, because that's never the case that I ever want to get you guys into or drive you in that direction, because you guys are relying on me for certain things, and I need to be able to trust the fact that I'm giving information to a responsible, somebody who's responsible. Just be responsible. I think you guys do a great job, and at any facet all the time. So thank you guys for being that way. Chief Champion, check out his channel. I shared in my community. He has some shorts up of some of the dogs that he's been working on. Awesome, man. Good for you. Okay, so for a subscriber, David Herden. David Herden, come in, man. Share your stuff. Let me know. Hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on Gmail. Do the whole thing, man. You're fully, totally welcome. Share me around. Anybody that wants to get into the game, anybody that wants to get into coon hunting or coonhound training or anything like that, go ahead and send them my way. Let them know. Come in there. You're always welcome. I don't care what kind of dogs you got. I don't care, what level hunter you are. Even if you're better than me, come in here and give me some knowledge, So if you've been out there way longer than I have, come in here and give me some knowledge. I greatly appreciate it all. All right, so here's some things that I'm going to go in here. Is I've been listening to a couple podcasts out there. Number one, Clayton Stark. Shout out to you, Clayton Stark. If you even watch my videos or I'm even on your radar, that'd be awesome. But the podcast with those Clover guys, man, I tell you what, I really enjoyed listening to all those podcasts. And one thing, that last one in that series has so much information and so much tidbits. I listened to that and I immediately was like, this is an awesome podcast, because you have a lot of great guys there that just have loads and loads of information, and they're talking, and you get them out there and they're kind of loosening up and letting everybody kind of know the deal. So you guys definitely go check out that podcast. Another podcast that I've been kind of listening to is Houndsman XP Outdoors podcast. Not Outdoors. It's Houndsman XP podcast. Sorry if I messed your name up, but I just found your podcast maybe a day or two ago, and there's some great, phenomenal videos on there. The podcast, specifically the episode about TrackMan, okay, that podcast, I listened to that, and phenomenal stuff. There's great information about training. There's great information about all of that sprinkled all throughout. I listened to another one where you're talking with the guy out west or down in Texas, who has his own dogs that he's been kind of breeding on for a long time, and he does all this other stuff. There's a lot of good information in there too. There's just a plethora of information out there, and kind of what I really liked about the podcast with the Culver guys and that podcast that I listened to when you were on the TrackMan podcast. Them podcasts are kind of synonymous with a lot of the things that I talk about on my channel. They're synonymous with a lot of the information that I put out on my podcast. They're just there, okay? So you guys go check those out. You guys come check my podcast out. If you guys haven't been to my podcast, it's right here on my channel page. Go down there. It's in Talking Dogs Podcast. Let me know if you guys have some subjects that you want way longer information on. I can get on there and I can try to put something together and get some talking done. But thank you guys for tuning in. This is the shout outs. Do not forget to smash that subscribe button for me. Have a good day and keep them treed, guys.